87% of realtors get into the business and get out of the business in 2 years. That doesn't exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
If you are a realtor looking to get into the business, we have a blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us. Let's talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it.
Welcome to another episode of Sales Beast Podcast. We are very pleased to be here today with Cody Smith. Cody is a relatively new realtor business. He's been in business for about a year, and he is absolutely crushing it, aren't you, Cody? So far,
what I've been told.
So far this year, he is at, I believe, 15 deals and over $250,000 in gross commission. He's on track to do $620,000 if he keeps this pace, which I know he will. So welcome, Cody. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you because a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they're just getting into the business, maybe just starting the process of doing their courses. And I think you can provide people a lot of knowledge surrounding what it takes to be successful very early on in their careers and in yours. So, Cody, what has allowed you to achieve such rapid success in the business?
Yeah, I think you kind of segued it perfectly, Mike. It's just having the knowledge and the base and the foundation there, right? It's listening to podcasts like this that give you that knowledge to get into the industry and kind of prepare yourself before you even actually get into it. So, I mean, for me, that was step one. I was taking classes with, our coach before I even got licensed. I was listening to podcasts like this and realizing what successful agents were doing and kind of getting my mindset to get into that door, right? And then once you're in, it's just building on the fundamentals of, we're not in the job of selling real estate. It's lead generation day after day after day. And it's that constant. I've been listening to the podcast for a while. So it's just building those foundations of it's lead generation at the end of the day. Lead generation, scripting, going on appointments, and signing contracts. And it's just repeat over and over again. So yeah, if you don't do that, you don't do the first one, you don't get to the next four. So
yeah, obviously mindset is like a big piece of it. I know that we wanted to chat briefly about your background. Can you talk to us about where you came from and how long you've actually been in the industry now, Cody?
Yeah, so like Mike was saying, I've been in the industry for probably about 13 months now. So I was licensed April 2021. So at the time of this recording last year. Yeah, so basically my background, I have a major in civil engineering and a minor in marketing. So I was kind of all over the place. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I couldn't work for anybody else. I really wanted to have that kind of self-employed or, starting a business or running my own business. So it was kind of where that was gonna take me. I just didn't know what industry I was gonna get into. So yeah, coming out of school, I was pretty lost. I started working for my family construction company, which, looking back at it now was a huge blessing to kind of segue into going into real estate, and especially investing has helped me quite a bit just to have that background knowledge. So yeah, I was doing that for 5 years, just kind of do my own thing on the side, right? Just buying houses, kind of renovating them, almost flipping them, but still living in them, which turned out to be great. And then, one day a good friend of mine came to me and was like, you should start selling real estate. He's like, you're basically doing it now. You're just paying somebody else to do it. And, I never wanted to be a salesperson. I always thought real estate agents were kind of like used car salesmen. And I'm like, I don't want to be that pushy guy who's like, sell your house. But, you don't have to be that way. Like, I come from a place of just being an advisor at the end of the day, and people have options. And it's just such a different mindset to have, right? Like, hopefully we can talk about mindset a little bit in this, because it's just such a big thing in this industry, and really in any industry, right? It's going in with the mindset of you're here to help these people, not make a dollar off of them. So yeah, I got into the industry, and yeah, it's been, I don't want to say anything but smooth sailing, but yeah, it's definitely been a rocky roller coaster. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying the ride.
That's awesome. Can you touch on, you mentioned a couple things that stood out to me there. One is being knowledge based. I think we all can agree the more you learn, the more you earn. And then the second thing I want to talk to you about after that is fundamentals. So for starters, can you talk about what kind of systems you have in place in your life to ensure you're constantly growing and learning? So when you do meet these clients or potential clients of yours, you show up as the best version of yourself possible.
Yeah, it honestly, it sounds such a cliche, but it's getting up in the morning, and the biggest thing for me is just listening to podcasts. I can't sit down to read a book personally. I can't, like, I'll probably fall asleep within the first 30 seconds or throw the book. So for me, it's just listening to podcasts, listening to audibles, and really just building that knowledge base to help your clients out. So, I focus on a lot of investments, investment books, podcasts, stuff like that. And it just, you show up such a better person for your clients, and your clients trust you a lot more. And then it becomes an easier conversion at the end of the day, right? You know what you're talking about. Your clients get that. You're confident what you're talking about. And it comes across like that. And your clients feel a lot more confident in themselves and using you than if you just came in and was like, oh yeah, the market's down 12%, sign your house now, right? It's just really having those fundamentals and building the knowledge of what's going on in the market, and how much a renovation is going to cost. And so it's just bringing more value than anybody else. And I think that's the biggest thing. And especially in the shifting market, you have to differentiate yourself, and whoever brings the most value to a client or their database is going to be the winner at the end of the day.
And I think people listening to this, a lot of them are going to be wondering in their minds, how do I do what Cody did? How do I replicate his success? Can you provide some of the podcasts or books that you listen to?
Yeah, so our good friend Sandy McKay has a great one. This one is also good. I've been really heavily deep into Gary Vee, just essentially for mindset at the end of the day. He's got a couple podcasts out right now. I'm following him huge on like YouTube and social media. He's just such a great perspective to have, like, especially when you're trying to grow something big. You have a lot of these people, especially on, not every podcast, not every social media, but you have a lot of people are like, hey, you can get rich in 30 days by doing this, like, 3 things. And it's like, you can't. I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, but 99% of it is, it's a bunch of bullshit, right? So you really have to put in the hard work. And when it comes down to real estate, it's, again, like we said, it's fundamentals. At the very beginning, I was putting in 10, 12, 14 hours of lead generation day after day after day. And it's like, I have people now and it's like, oh my God, what did you do? It's like, you just blew up overnight. It's like, I didn't. Like, I was 6 feet deep on the phones day after day. And then, yeah, I came to the surface and people saw just the surface. And it's like, I didn't see my girlfriend or my family for 6-8 months. Right? Like, that was my whole life, and people aren't willing to make that sacrifice to get to that point. So it's, what's most important to you, or like, what are you willing to give up to get to that point? So I don't know if that really answered your question. I kind of went on a tangent there, but
I asked you what podcast to listen to. And here we are.
And here we are.
So crucial though. Like, so many people that want to achieve success, but they don't put in place simple principles that lead to success. Like, I'm always watching it. There's a documentary on Netflix about Bill Gates. And you have this nerdy old Bill Gates walking around with a big bag of books. And then I read a book on Warren Buffett recently. He reads like 8 hours a day. And then I was watching something on YouTube about Elon Musk, and this guy asked Elon Musk, how did you learn how to build a rocket? He said, I read about it in a book. Like, all these very, very successful people are learning. They're always growing. Way too many realtors get in the business and they want to do a lot of business. They want to make a lot of money, but that simple principle of being learning based is often left out.
I can almost like see where in my business I got really, really busy and then started putting those fundamentals on the back burner of like, having really late nights because you're doing contracts and you're talking to clients, and then it's like, oh, I won't go to the gym tomorrow, so I'll do it the next day. And then you just continually get bigger and busier, and you put those fundamentals on the back burner and you can feel your mindset change within a couple days. It's the craziest thing. So yeah, it's so crucial to have the routine that's going to make you a better person, but also reading those books and listening to the podcast. Like, Mike, I sent you that video the other day with Gary Keller just talking about the market shift. And I was just driving for 15 minutes, and I've used that conversation so many times with clients in the past couple of days. And they're like, wow, that's a really good point, right? Just points that Gary Keller's bringing up. And if I didn't listen to that video, I couldn't bring more value to my clients.
100%.
Right. So yeah, it's just such a snowball effect, and the snow melts very easily. So
when you're talking about mindset, I think it's important to pull energy from things, like you said, like you listen to podcasts that you listen to. And you also said that it's very clear to see when you're losing energy because you're not, keeping up with those like mindset, I guess, additions. So where in your business, you mentioned there was a point in your business that you felt like you were losing on that part. What happened during that time? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's unfortunately right now is kind of in that roller coaster slight dip, right? The year started off just insanely busy. A lot was happening in the market. I was getting the database that was built up from last year of me just constantly lead genning. And I couldn't find that balance or really put things into place where I could keep those fundamentals and still continue to produce and make all my clients, convert them basically and find them houses or sell their house and stuff like that. Right. So, yeah, it just goes back into really building a system and knowing your limits and leveraging. Leveraging is a massive thing. But, one of the things that, one of the best mentors I've had, Mike Johnson, quote unquote, you really just have to time block and have nothing interrupt that. And, that's been the biggest thing. And, you just set us. So my mornings now, nothing gets interrupted. It's my calendar, then that's what I'm doing. Your phone has a great setting. You can put it on focus mode. If it's an emergency, then they can get through. If it's anybody else, they're not getting through. Right. So it's just really just bunkering down and just holding to it, I guess. So.
Yeah. I love that part of Gary's little spiel where he said, like, the appointments we make with ourselves, so that might be lead generation, that might be scripting. Before any of that, I think it should be the appointments we have with our families. But they need to be treated with the same level of importance as we would treat an appointment for a $10 million listing. And I think that's where everyone goes wrong. Yeah, because the only way that $10 million listing comes into our world is if we build ourselves a bunker each and every day and we lead generate and don't let anything get in our way. Cody, one thing I see, I'm sure Anna, you see it too. I think it's very common in this business. When new realtors get in, it seems as though they underestimate the amount of work required to get into production and build themselves a robust business. I know you're big on time blocking your calendar. Can you share with everyone what your average day has looked like over the course of the last year?
Yeah. Do you want to start like when I first started or now or anything in between?
Well, you just said now or recently you haven't been doing a good job of following your calendar. So how about you?
We'll start from the beginning. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of appointments. I didn't have a lot of things going on when I first started, right? So it was just lead generation. It was, if you're able to stay alive for 12, 14, 16 hours working, I don't recommend it for anybody. It's whatever your goals are, right? And how much you're willing to work. But yeah, for me, it was 6-7 days a week religiously of just, cold calling, door knocking, messaging spheres, friends, Facebook messages, posts. And I remember Mondays, it'd be 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. I was just cold calling. I'd bring breakfast, lunch, and dinner to the office. And I was at the Hamilton office most of the time because I'm pretty sure I was living in Hamilton back when I started doing this. And yeah, I would just literally, Mike knows this, I would go downstairs into like the farthest corner of the office, and everybody would be like, oh, come upstairs, like, let's hang out, we'll all go into the bullpen together. And I'm like, no, like, just I'm barricading myself in this, I don't know, what is it, like 3 foot by 5 foot room, and I'm just cold calling for 12 hours straight until the mojo dialer kicks me out. So it was just that. And I think one of the biggest things for me is I was just going on appointments. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no real scripting in the back of my head. And I was just going on appointments, and I would sit there for 3 hours with these people. And I'm like, it just getting nowhere. But that's how you build, traction and momentum, and just getting used to going into those things. So yeah, I think the most part was just full lead generation days. And I was pretty bad at taking a day off. I highly recommend people take a day off because you get burnt out very quick. But yeah, I think it was 6 days a week of just pure lead generation. And now it's changed up a little bit. Now my calendar looks more of, focus and buffer days and off days, which I'm actually really loving, especially from a mental standpoint. It's just given me that break of still going into work, but where the buffer days you can catch up on paperwork, really focus in on, being more creative in that sense, and just having time to think about where your business is going to go and how you're going to build it. So I'm just trying to branch off on more lead generation opportunities. And yeah, that thinking time and that buffer day has been a huge game changer for me. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'll keep you posted. Maybe we can do another Sales Beast episode recap in 2 to 3 years.
For sure. Now, with the market shifting quite a bit over the last couple of months, what are some things that you've implemented both into your calendar and into your personal life to help you continue to grow your business?
Yeah, so I guess we'll pick up on personal first. Personal, I've just kind of made it more, I'm being more purposeful with what I'm doing in my personal life now. So kind of getting more out into the community, especially with COVID lifting. The market shifted, and I don't think that some of the things that were working in the past when COVID was, and the market was so hot, I don't think those things are going to happen like they did in the last 2 years. So like we've talked about it quite a bit, it's going to be a skills driven market. And I think the time of people just picking up the phone and being like, yeah, come over to my house, signing the paperwork, I don't think that's there anymore. So it's just getting out more into the community, playing sports, donations, sponsoring, like, kids teams, holding events, stuff like that. That, is really going to help me socially and in my personal life, getting connected with people again. And then on a business level, it's making relationships and essentially building that Mets database. When it comes to business, it's just doubling down on the fundamentals, just doubling down on lead generation. And I think the biggest thing that people take for granted is how much skill you need to be in real estate. It's not just you simply put a sign on the front lawn and the house sells, or it's not simply going over and just talking to somebody and getting the listing signed. It's not that easy anymore. You got to sit down and really know your stuff and know where the market's going. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing you're going to see a lot of agents get out of the industry because they're not skill based, right? It was just so easy for the last 2 years. And unfortunately, I had the courtesy of being into the market when it was really, really hot. But you can't be naive in knowing that you can just still go and not have to worry about skills or scripting or doubling down on lead generation. You have to do everything now because it's the best time to be in this market. Like when the market starts being balanced, me personally, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it to happen. I'm glad it's moving there because especially for me, the last 6 months of like really feeling the tail end of COVID and getting really busy, it was a lot. it was a lot. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to take more market share from people going back to their normal jobs and not being into real estate. So, but for those of you who are looking to join, it's going to be a fun ride. So
Yeah, there's so much room for disruption in our industry, especially as the market is changing. And I think you're so right in saying like it really comes down to the realtors that are continuously improving, continuously being innovative, because we also, I guess, have to keep up with technology and what other companies are doing to try to, cut the realtors out of the transaction. What do you foresee are things that like we should be focusing on as realtors over the next 6 months and next year to continue being disruptive and to continue taking more market share?
Yeah, I've done, honestly, the last 3-4 months, I've really been trying to figure out where my lead generation is going to come from. For everybody out there that's listening that doesn't know me, I'm strictly just cold calling day after day after day. I don't think that's going to be dead anytime soon, but I think to be really disruptive in this market, you have to think outside the box. And for me, it's leaning on social media, because social media is going to be such a powerhouse. And I still think it's underestimated in the sense. There's a lot of agents out there who aren't gravitating towards things like TikTok and like you guys do in the podcast. Like, this is such a huge lead generation model for you guys, but any agent can do it. Like, just start posting on TikTok or start posting on YouTube and like, you can talk about anything nowadays, anything related to the market, and, just run ads against it. Right? Like, paid ads is going to be a huge thing. It has been for the last 2-3 years. We're moving into a more tech society as the younger generation comes up. If you don't get onto that bandwagon in the next couple of years, you're going to be very sorely mistaken. Like, TikTok has 3 billion downloads. There are people making tons of money off TikTok, and they're real estate agents. Right? So it's just a huge opportunity. And let's face it, if you're just continuing to cold call for the next couple of years, landlines are almost dead. They're almost dinosaur non-existent anymore, right? So people aren't going to have landlines. People all have a cell phone. Everybody's going to be on social media. So yeah, if that's the one thing that I'm seeing people not jumping onto, it was a huge eye opener for me, especially when I got into the industry. Social media was kind of like very foreign to me. It was just, people posted on there to get likes and everything like that. I never saw it from the business standpoint, but you can reach, like, I had a client in the so I had an agent in the office. He ran a $20 ad campaign for a week and got 17 leads into his database. He didn't have to do anything. He wasn't cold calling for 20, 30, 40 hours. He's getting 17 leads into his database and can still cold call on top of that. Like, it's just an incredible lead generation tool. And if you want to be disruptive, I think that's where you have to go.
Yeah,
Personally.
I think at the end of the day, social media is just it's a database. And you never know who's watching. I've been guilty of not being consistent with it, which is a huge problem because it does spit out a ton of results at me. I've gotten joint venture partners off social media that I bought real estate deals with. I've gotten many clients off social media. I think you just need to consistently do it and have faith that eventually it will yield results for you. Because we've had people on this podcast, Anna, that do up like close to 100 deals a year, all off social media. It's insane. It's just like anything else. If you pick up the phone and cold call for one day and don't get any results and say this doesn't work, and never do it again, yeah, it doesn't work. Same with social media. If you post once and in your head you think it doesn't work and you stop, it won't work.
It's totally a consistency game. Like, if content production, I think, really comes down to longevity, like who can outlast who, rather than like what kind of content can you produce. Content is great, but like, it's really the people that show up the most, that are there every single day, that are consistent, that are going to have a longer term better following, and obviously like better results as well.
That's what I love. I have friends right now who are like, oh, I want to get into real estate. Like, let's do it. Let's, what do I do next? What do I, when did you start getting like your first paycheck or your first deal? And I'm like, probably 6 months into the business, 7 months. And they're like, well, what am I going to do for money? So it's just such an instant gratification society right now that it's just like lead generation. It's you don't pick up the phone, cold call one person. They're like, yeah, come over and list my house. It's, I mean, Annie, you put it perfectly. Who's going to outlast who? And who can delay the gratification long enough to get the biggest results?
You're so right. Like our society, like everything is instant gratification, from like getting a text to receiving a text. It's like seconds to like ordering on Amazon. You get it like same day or next day, right? So I truly believe, like, sure, there can be instant gratification through lead generation, but it really is a longer term play.
Yeah. And that's when you're going to see a lot of people get out of the business, because now it's turning from instant gratification market to much more delayed gratification market, right? So you're going to see those agents who don't have the skills or aren't willing to put in and double down on their lead generation. And that's when people in our network that we know, or people listening to the podcast, are going to be able to get in and really have fruitful careers, I think. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's the thing, like, it's not instant gratification. It's not necessarily quick and easy money. I think a lot of people view it that way, but it can be very fast. If you sit down on the phone for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, or you go knock on doors 5 days a week, all day, every day, or you do 5 open houses a week, every single week, you're going to get into production very quick. It will probably take 3 to 6 months. But like, I know you, Cody, had a similar trajectory to me. Like, within 6 months, you can be making as much money in a month as you used to make in a whole year. Like, that's pretty instant gratification. To me, that's a deal I take all day long. All I have to do is sit on a phone or bang on strangers' doors all day, and I can make as much money in a month as the average Canadian makes in a year. Sign me up for that all day long. But it's like 1 in 100 people are actually willing to pay the price. You are one of those people.
I think you just need to have the faith too, right? Like, I mean, we had this conversation so many times throughout the like 6-7 months where nothing was really happening. And you're like, just wait. And then that month came along, and all of a sudden it was there. Right. And I remember looking at, the sales that happened, and I was like, I literally made as much money as I did this month than I did last year having a career, right, where I wasn't happy. So it's just crazy to see the changes that happen and how fruitful it can be if you just put in the work.
Okay. Yeah, let's segue into another topic here. You're making lots of money, you're kicking ass, collecting checks,
taking names,
but you don't live a glamorous life. You seem to be the type of person that always stays broke. When the money comes in your bank account, you go out and do something massive, like buy an apartment building or buy a rental property. Why is it you're doing that? Why are you so focused on building wealth?
At the end of the day, I don't know if it's about the money for me necessarily. I enjoy it. Like, it's almost like a game to me in a sense. The money is just the afterthought, really. At the end of the day, I've always my biggest goal was always to take care of my family. My parents were always the biggest supporter for me and always gave me not whatever I wanted, but whatever made sense for them, and gave me the best life that I actually could, right? So it was that, in a sense of just being able to build something that I could kind of do the same thing for them and take care of them when, it comes down to retirement, and, they want to be able to travel, but, maybe can't, or, buy a cottage to spend time with them, and just stuff like that, right? So that's been my biggest drive. There's days where I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and, I don't want to, go cold call, but it's like, you do it because you think of those big things and those monumental things that you can do for the people that you love, and it makes everything just well worth it, right? So, but on the other side of that, it's, you get these paychecks coming in, and as soon as the money comes out, now you're back to square one again. You're pushed up against the wall. Well, you don't have money to make rent next week or make your mortgage payment next week. So you better get out door knocking or hammering the phones, because, you know, you might not have a roof over your head. So I've always put myself in kind of that corner to really push myself to hopefully like another level. I, again, don't recommend that for anybody, because geez, it gets brutal sometimes, but some of the best things have happened to me with, you know, putting myself in those situations where, you know, I don't know where the next check is going to come from because I need to close on another property, but, you know, something bigger and better that I never thought would happen comes out of it. And it's just, I don't know. I'm a true believer of what you put into the universe, it gives back to you. You just got to put in the work. And yeah, that's kind of how I did it. So just put yourself into a corner if you have the risk factor for it and the risk tolerance. But yeah, I mean, it's just going back to actually answering your question, because I get on huge tangents whenever I pop on. So
that's why you have 3-hour appointments.
This is exactly why I can't stop talking. Yeah, I do it because it's my friends and my family. Like, I've always wanted to be able to just take care of people, and yeah, it's been fun. You know, it's nice to get back and be able to, you know, book a trip for my parents and surprise them. And, you know, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. And I think this kind of circles back to having a positive, optimistic mindset in whatever you do, but also having faith to balance it out, because you could be the most positive person in the world, but if you don't have faith, even if things don't work out as planned, you're not going to be able to, you know, kind of work through that problem, work through that system. So can you talk about how your mindset and just maybe being cautiously optimistic has helped you in your career?
Yeah, I want to differentiate of having bunny ears comparing to be optimistic. There is a difference. I just learned about that term the other day looking at investment property, so I just want to bring that up. But yeah, you really have to have faith that what you're doing is going to provide results at the end of the day, right? I'm a huge believer, not to get too witchy on this podcast, but you know, you really have to set things into the universe, and you can really tell when, I mean, if you start doing affirmations and you come from an abundance mind place, and in these affirmations, you can see where your business takes off, and you stop doing those and you can kind of see where your business starts pulling back, right? So like what I was saying before, you know, I got super busy, and, you know, everything, the whole routine went out the window, and, you know, you can see now the reflection and the results that are coming out of it. They're not where they were when I was doing those things, right? So it was a hard lesson to learn, because I had so much faith in the process before, and, you know, with these affirmations and in building knowledge. But you can have the optimism and be optimistic, but you really have to have the faith behind it. And I think affirmations are the best thing you can do, because it sets that mindset properly. And I'm a true believer what you put into the universe, it gives you back in tenfold. So,
and like affirmations are actually proven to change how your brain works, right? If every day you're waking up and telling yourself, wow, like I'm a horrible person, I'm never going to accomplish this, well, likely you're probably not going to, versus affirming yourself and thinking about what you can accomplish and visualization. Like those are all things that can get you there faster.
Absolutely. And it's a great segue to surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and are positive and kind of go where you want to go, right? Like when I got into real estate, or I was getting my license, I was like, I had no clue where I was going to be or what I wanted to do or what the possibilities were. And then you come into a network of people who have done such massive things that you never thought were possible. And that has led me to be in a place where I didn't even think I was going to be in 20 years, making the kind of money that I'm making, and the properties that I bought and the people that I've connected with. So it's having people that you surround yourself with that kind of open the door and show you, hey, this is possible. Anybody can do it. But we're such a limited belief society, I think we don't know what we don't know, and if we don't know it, then we're not going to do it, right? So
Those are two really good points. So affirmations, and basically you are the average of people you hang out with. If you're sad, you want to be happy, go hang out with happy people. If you're overweight, you want to be fit, go hang out with people that are fit. You want to be a millionaire, go hang out with millionaires. I find that that was, I'd say, the most pivotal change in my life is when I came into this environment and started hanging out with people that achieved success that I didn't even know was possible. Over time, you eventually become them, and you replicate their results. The affirmation thing, I'm kind of with you. I think a lot of realtors, Cody, are a little down in the dumps, you could say, given the market we're going through right now. I know I have moments where mentally I'm struggling. I think it started with denial. I went through a couple months of denial. Now I've realized this is real, and yeah, affirmations are a tool I use to get through my day and make sure I'm productive and happy about what I'm doing. I was reading a book, I forget which one it was, and I didn't listen to this guy's advice until recently, but he said, just set a reminder every hour on your phone to do your affirmations and just have a minute apiece. So now, like, since we've been going through this shifting market, that's something I do now. The notification pops up, it says, do your affirmations, be like, shut up and stop doing anything for a minute and ask yourself, how can you be more purposeful in this next hour? And that's really helped me.
I love that. It's actually funny. So we kind of do the same thing. The last couple of weeks, I've been really just trying to be, I guess, more zenful and kind of like relax a little bit more, especially with the market shifting. And I've literally set a timer on my phone, and within the middle of the day, around 12:30, I'll literally just sit on my floor in a yoga pose for 5 minutes and just not think about anything.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like, your day becomes so much more, like, you stress less, in my opinion. And it's a good transition from like cold calling to doing follow-ups and going on appointments, because you can get screamed at for 3 hours and maybe not shed that off and then go into an appointment and bring that with you, right? So yeah, it's interesting. We've never talked about that before.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome. So yeah, you've obviously had a ton of success. What's the future hold for you? Where are you going?
Geez. I mean, sky's always the limit, I think. It's really, if you think it, you can do it. It's just there's so much opportunity out there in life. I don't know. We got some big plans coming up. You and we got a lot of, investment focused events coming up. And I think me personally, I'm going to start doing a lot more social media and a lot more kind of paid advertising campaigns, and just putting together webinars. And I've had a lot of fun helping investors, and especially new investors, be able to build wealth. And it's been fun. It's kind of nice to see how people are using real estate to kind of fund their dream lives, and even help families, like their families. So yeah, I've taken a lot of time and thought and trying to see how I could help that. And I mean, I think it's just reaching out to more people and showing them that, hey, anybody can really kind of live that financial freedom life that we all think is almost impossible if you're not in real estate or have the opportunity to do so. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to go the next couple of years, is just trying to help as many people as possible and just bring them down that road that, I mean, like you guys, like yourself, have showed me, and it's made a huge impact on life. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to be in the next couple of years. So, or in
Are you
Texas.
still continuing with your hot market talks? Like, we've been watching those on Facebook. A lot of my agents talk about them. They're great.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I think we might be kiboshing it at this point. We might bring it back quarterly. We'll see what happens. I got to give my stomach a little bit of a break. It was some rough times, but no, honestly, it was a lot of fun. It was it was funny. I'd go on showings, especially when the market was crazy, and have a lineup of people going into the same house. And it was amazing how much like traction those videos got, because they'd be like, "Hey, I know you. You're on like that hot market show, are you?" And my clients would be like, "What are you doing when you're not showing houses?" I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's okay."
Just
So
eating a lot of hot sauce.
yeah, yeah. So you never know, might come back. Maybe we'll bring it to Toronto.
Maybe
Or,
we should
sorry,
do a sales
Vaughan.
beast hot market talks. That's what we should do.
Ooh, there we go.
There you go.
I like it. There's a pitch.
I got to get Mike on board because I know he's done it before. So I don't know if he's ready for round 2.
I love it.
Mike did very well, actually.
Big
It was almost scary of how well he ate the hottest hot sauce. Like I remember watching that video, Mike, and everybody's dying, and Mike's just sitting in the back, just like cold faced, just eating this wing, like licking it to the bone. And I'm like, this guy's not human.
But that's him. He's just like so composed all the time. So I can imagine.
Always. I was really expecting like emotional response, but I got nothing.
Funny, you're not the first Mexican person that's told me they're surprised by my ability to handle heat.
What, the other one was my sister?
Yeah.
Like you ever go, I had a buddy, he was from China, and he used to take me to these authentic Chinese restaurants when we were younger, and they would literally give us 2 different menus. So you get the Chinese menu and I get the white person menu. That's why they thought I couldn't handle it. But yeah, there's some Trinidadian in my background, so maybe that's where it comes from.
Oh,
yeah,
that's where the taste buds.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I've just killed my taste buds at this point, so I got nothing left after 11 episodes of Hot Market Talks or whatever we did.
Awesome. Well, Cody, I know we're going to start wrapping it up here, but before we let you go, we ask all of our guests the same question at the end. I'm sure you know it, but who do you know that we should have on the podcast?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know, I've listened to this podcast quite a bit. I should have prepared for this question because I knew it was coming. Honestly, the one person that comes to the top of my head, Jana Ray, would actually be really good. So she's been killing it. I think she's been in the industry for like 4 years now. Definitely have her on. She's huge into social media. She gets all her leads from Instagram. She actually had her on Hot Market Talk. She's got a lot of value and she's absolutely killing it out there. So she would be great to have on.
Okay.
Great. We'll reach out to her.
Awesome.
Well,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, Cody. Really appreciate it.
Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling.